Hey there, fellow cosmic travelers, and welcome to Stars Are Lit, the astrological podcast that's all about grooving with the rhythms of the universe. We're here to explore the stars and planets in a chill, laid-back way that's as mellow as a sunny day in the park. Whether you're a seasoned astrologer or a galactic novice, we've got you covered with all the latest insights and cosmic musings. So kick back, relax, and let's ride the cosmic waves together. Peace, love, and astrology, man.
We'll go ahead and discuss the meaning of the new moon in Pisces. So.
Okay, let's do that first if you want. The new moon we just had yesterday. Yeah, I like how you pointed out it happened the exact moment of the... Well, this is a minute or two later, I guess. Well,
they're together. I mean, they're only 30 minutes.
So an hour apart, roughly.
So, but yeah, within that hour.
So right after that was when Venus moved into Aries, which is very interesting how that happened because we're also having a very similar thing happen with the full moon coming up as well. So I think this was kind of a little preview into the full moon in some ways.
And can you explain what's happening for the full moon?
Well, the full moon in Virgo is going to be happening on March 7th at, I believe, 5:40 a.m. Mountain Time. Mm-hmm. And we have Saturn finishing off its last minutes of Aquarius at 29:59 right as the full moon happens. So very, very interesting how the timing of all these transits happen.
It is. It's been very exact, especially with what we discovered in episode 1 on Lionsgate Portal of 2025. Just really interesting, like things are synchronizing very literally in our cosmos, and it's exciting to see it all pick up. Is there anything you want to say about like the Pisces new moon? I know for me, that new moon was in my 4th house. And so the day before I was all like, oh, what ritual could I do to help bring in the energy of the new moon, which, is all about Pisces, all about spirituality, artistic natures, creativity, and so forth. So obviously my 4th house was all like, hey, clean me. And so the next morning, or the night before, I draw like an oracle card to be like, hey, what should I do tomorrow? Trying to get around the whole like cleaning thing. Literally, it was called the Camel Boy, and it was reversed, and its first sentence was, stop what you're doing and attend to mundane tasks. And I was like, what the fuck? So I just thought it was really cool how there was a spiritual connection literally through my oracle affecting my 4th house of home. And I did clean, and it was lovely, but it was just like...
I wouldn't have even looked at the oracle because I would have just known that's what it would have told me.
I freaking knew it. I was like, watch. It's going to be like, clean your house. Okay, Mom.
Oh, it would have just been a gut punch. Like, okay, I get it. I'll do it. Fine.
I know it. So that was my new moon in Pisces experience with my 4th house.
Interesting. What was my new moon in Pisces? I don't know. Because Pisces is my 8th house, so... I mean, I felt like death after riding snowboarding 2 days in a row.
Oh, yeah. So. And like Pisces is very much about retreating too, and 8th house is pretty retreated.
Mm-hmm. And I spent those days, in fantasy world up on the mountain, snowboarding, playing in the snow.
Very cool.
With both my kids, so it was a really, really good time, so I don't regret it.
Good. Excellent. Wherever Pisces is in your charts, you will have felt this new moon energy. I hope you used it to your benefit. However, if you didn't, that's okay. There's always another new moon. Yes. So that new moon happened right at the beginning of Pisces season. It began, the 20th is when Pisces season began.
And we've been having these new moons beginning right at the beginning degrees, which... to me, just really feels like the beginning of a reset of a very new set of events that are about to transpire. So. Oh,
yeah. And honestly, it's very neat and tidy, too. Beginning of the lunar season, beginning of the month. It's like the two have finally synced for a little bit, and I really enjoy that. Mm-hmm.
Because in 2020, they were backwards. Everything
it was
was
weird.
Out of whack. We'd have the full moon and then the new moon, and it was just...
I'm very much about adopting the lunar calendar as a society. However, we know how that'll play out in the economy and all of that. And I do know that religions do follow that naturally is the lunar calendar. And I have been working on really utilizing the moon. And it's been amazing. Like, I've been consistent, and I see a lot more things falling in line easier. So I highly recommend, especially that you guys do follow the moon. It's totally worth it. It's very neat and tidy. It's 28 and a half days. It's, I'm very about that.
And it's so pretty to see that moon setting, like just...
yeah, and the astronomy of everything. It is.
And just slowly watching it wax until it's full.
Yeah,
it's
as the month goes ahead.
Uh-huh.
And that's so cool. It's like we should be able to look up at the moon and be like, this is the time frame we're in. And it reflects everything. So much would go easier.
And a lot of times with looking at the moon and the phases in, I like to think of what degree is it making with the sun? Is it a trine? Is it a square?
Yes, I know what you're talking about, because the full moon's the opposition, new moon is a conjunction, and it's like there's that whole other astrological insight you can put on than just manifestation and release.
Yep.
So there's
even though that is the biggest aspect of it, is the culminating cycles of the new and full. But yeah, there's something going on in between there. Like, I was born during a waxing gibbous. Like, it wasn't quite full. It was working its way there. But
are you able? I struggle with that. Are you able to tell what?
It's easy to tell.
All right,
easy. Like,
I want you to tell me.
This is one of the things that pops out in a chart like almost immediately. Like,
I struggle with it.
Easy as a day or night chart. So you're on a waning whatever stage that is. So
I see what you mean. Okay. Well, thank you for that insight. I don't know if that'll make it in, but that's interesting.
That is just a little
I love
interesting stuff
astrology
that
shit. So, all right. Are you ready to talk about...
Let's go to something else, yeah.
All right, Venus in Aries and how it affects relationships and desires. So, Venus did go in Aries very synchronistically along with the new moon in Pisces. Did you notice anything from that?
Not initially. No, I mean, I know Venus likes being in Pisces, and
yeah, it does.
Aries isn't necessarily Venus's favorite place to be.
Sure, but don't forget, though, Aries and Venus, a.k.a. Aphrodite, literally had an affair in mythology.
Okay, yeah, good point.
So, like, do you know that story?
I don't know it very well.
So she was married to, I believe it was Hephaestus. He was, like, the underground guy who took care of all the smithing. And he was like really not good looking, and so they married the most beautiful woman to him. So, that whole thing. So she would go and run and have an affair with Aries, and Hephaestus knew, so he crafted this, like, I think it was like a metal net. And once, like, he went to work, they were in bed together, and he threw this net over them to catch them in mid-coitus. And then he called all the gods to go and, like, behold them in bed together. I really wish there was a fucking soap opera just based on real Greek myths. It would be a bestseller. But yeah, so there's that real, like, forbiddenness there as well, if you will. What do you... Oh, sorry. Go. Do you have anything about Venus and Aries?
The only thing with Venus and Aries, besides... I have a friend. One of my best friends has a Venus and Aries. He was born on just 17 hours after a total eclipse. And his mom was a witch, so he kind of understands the way this all works. So
dang. His
Venus was also pretty close to his sun, like within a degree or two.
Ooh, was that under the sun's rays then?
Wasn't quite. I don't know if
I
think a degree or two is out of it.
Okay.
To be
I thought it was a degree. Okay.
But I don't know the exact numbers on that. But anyway, he's something else. Like, he is a unique person for sure. Like, he would be someone cool to interview on the podcast as well.
I'd be so down.
But yeah, back to the Venus and Aries. I'm looking forward to see what she brings. It'll be neat.
Nice.
As we go through Aries season with Venus and Aries. Well, obviously we're going to go through Pisces season with Venus and Aries, but it'll be Aries season for Venus.
Right, exactly. It adds a little bit of fieriness to all of that. I do like that it is very much a pioneer and a go-getter. Aries is within like what you find valuable and stuff. Look to the house of which Aries is in, and that is where you're going to feel Venus's touch.
All right.
So it's in my 5th house, and it happened really suddenly.
It's in my 9th, so.
Ooh, interesting.
We'll see.
Go join a commune for a little bit.
You know what's funny about my chart? So, like, I look at my chart, and it just seems like everything from the in the top of the chart is unfamiliar because all my planets lie in the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I feel familiar with all of the energies in which my planets interact with, but Aries is something that is empty in my chart, and so I don't feel like I understand Aries.
It's interesting. It's hard because wherever Aries is, it's you have all this gumption and drive to get shit going, but there's no follow through. It's really hard to keep it going. I tell my students, that Aries is the spark of creation, but it's the spark of creation, right? But it's not the smolder of creation. And so it's really easy to get over ambitious with things within that house and not have to follow through. So that's nice that you don't have any extra little in there. Yeah. Lucky you.
Yeah, I've got a stellium opposing it, so we'll see.
Oh, interesting.
So we'll see how that works.
So harnessing that, though, and balancing it well. Mm-hmm. So cool. Between Libra, right? Mm-hmm. Nice. So I pulled, this is the Ohio transit chart for the original train derailment. This page is the aspects it's making. You want to check that out and see if anything pops up to you. This is also not timed, so don't worry about houses. However, I find it interesting that the Venus, transiting Venus, was 9 degrees Pisces, and it was conjunct both the Sun, Pluto, and very loosely the North Node. And then Mars, though, has been over their Moon and Mars.
And I've never looked at one of these charts, but there's a lot of trines in here, too.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Lots of easy going. Mm-hmm. Easy spread, maybe.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like pieces have fallen into place for an event to happen. It's just really easy and natural, like a wildfire sort of thing. It's just of course it's naturally gonna flow and just work.
Especially with all that Pisces. And I just realized here with that Pisces, because we have all that Pisces flowy stuff, their Venus and Pluto is also conjunct over here. Both Venuses and Plutos are conjunct. Do you know if there's a name for that? When both planets are doing something similar? I've come across a lot of those.
That's a good question. I see what you're saying, but no, I don't.
Because it's not mutual reception, is it? Because that's between signs and planets, but just within planets and planets,
But that'd be a good question to ask someone like Chris.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I've noticed it a lot. It was just in Tom Hanks and his wife. They had their moons and Uranuses tip like that together.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
So I think we should look into that eventually. So we're gonna pinhole that.
Look at more synastry charts and see what we have going on there.
Just the whole thing in Ohio. Let's see what their communication is in. Mercury is sextiling their Neptune in Pisces right now. And so transiting Mercury is bringing a lot of like clarity and communication in that area. But like,
but with Neptune,
I think it's transiting.
It's almost like it doesn't matter how clear your communication is when you have a planet like Neptune involved. It's going to be muddy. The waters are going to be kind of muddy just a little.
Yeah. Sorry,
it's not going to be as clear as you want it to be with Neptune.
It's not there. Neptune in Pisces. Hold on. It's Neptune in Scorpio.
Neptune in Scorpio.
That's even more so. Like, I came up with an analogy that explaining Cancer versus Scorpio. I'm like, Cancer is like on the surface shallows of the ocean, and Scorpio is the Marianas Trench of emotion.
So you're talking about Neptune and Scorpio as
is their natal
for Ohio.
And then and I mean that would happen every so often. You know, it happens almost monthly with that transit. But that's just interesting that was in place there, and it was conjunct Pluto, which is also conjunct their Venus, and then their Pluto is conjunct Venus. So I feel like the guy with all of the strings right there, and that's the cool thing about astrology is like, it doesn't have to like be one big thing that does it. It'll probably never be just one thing that causes an event to happen. It's like a string of things that, like, it's a domino. Something too. Or yeah, you go real quick.
Yeah, I was just saying that, like you said there, with it not being just one event, it's a domino of a lot of different things that have fallen into place and locked into place in one way or another. The unchanging of something, the fixity of stuff. We had a lot of that with a lot of fixed energy. The nodes were in fixed, or still are in fixed. I mean, so all the different energies coming together are obviously going to create an event. It's ultimately inevitable in some ways, you kind of say. That's where you get into the whole fate and free will thing, too.
I know, and that's a great podcast we should follow through maybe in the next couple episodes, hitting on fate and free will. It's a very important point. With what you're saying about the fixed signs and the nodes being there, I really thought of, like, I'm really into geology, and I was like a geology kid, whatever. Tectonic plates, when they slide side to side, it feels like that fixed energy was that form of earthquake. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the side where they just scrape each other, side swiping, if you will. And that's what it feel like it's been. And like eventually, like sometimes things will break loose and it will go forward more. Other times it's really stuck. So that's really how I feel about this fixed node era. Oh.
And something else I noticed with that Neptune, you're saying Neptune in Scorpio was in the natal chart of Ohio. We also have Neptune and Scorpio in the natal chart of Rodney Mullen.
And we will be discussing him later on the podcast.
Yeah.
How interesting is that? And they were definitely not born the same year.
No. No, that was a full cycle later.
Interesting. And he's from Florida, though. He's not from Ohio, so that would have been a fun, cool
No, that would have
thing.
been an interesting.
It would have, absolutely.
I bet he has a connection to Ohio, though.
Oh, I'm sure he's Rodney fucking Mullen. All right. Are we done with Ohio? Overall, you guys need to keep your eyes open when it comes to this major ecological disaster. It's going to have huge ramifications to our water systems, especially those that are the closest there. Acid rain and acid snow are in fucking Canada, in New York, all over. I wouldn't be surprised if we got some here. With that being said, I feel like it's really a precursor to Saturn going into Pisces. The restriction on literal water, and I know it's not there yet, but we're going to have to really start taking things seriously about our water in the world, just, figuring it out. But this, some microbiologists or mushroom biologists were on TikTok saying that you can grow mushrooms that'll eat up all of that pollution and that they are not able to get it out to people because of media. It's the dawning of the mushroom, too. Look at how much it's been legalized.
I can't wait for this to just spread. It's spreading like a wildfire. You're not stopping this stuff.
No, the marijuana really got it going.
Like, unless you somehow were able to execute every single person that has this knowledge, you're not getting rid of it.
No, and then, like, the internet's forever.
Yeah, and the internet's it's already on the internet. So even if you destroy the people, you're right. You've still got the information.
And then spores. Have you ever tried to get rid of spores? Come on.
Yep. It's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. So
excellent.
Can't stop it. Just one of those things, kind of like a train derailment. Like it's
I know.
It's going to happen.
Oh, back on the Ohio real quick. Sorry. They had a major mass casualty event at, I think, a factory or something.
Metal factory.
Yeah. This is that chart here, and I just wanted to see if anything popped out to you real quick. Like, this is crazy that it's had vibes to Ohio, if you can do anything to help, but it's just like, it's ultimately us having to stand up against the powers that be.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to see more and more and more of these string of events of just odd disasters.
Well, they said they found pipe bombs all over. They said they found one on rail tracks. We've already been having domestic terror issues with the electrical converters or whatever they're called. There has been several attacks all over the U.S. and they found some info that they know how to knock off the United States' power grid very easily. And it's been happening, but the media is covering it up. And I feel like this is what's happening too. But in the blessed thing that is TikTok, we're able to get news straight from the source, which is so important considering we're going into that Aquarius time with Pluto.
Here's something that just occurred to me. I feel like the government is okay with instilling fear when they're the ones in control of the narrative and what's happening. But when something is out of their control, they want to give us the most comfort as possible. They don't want us to be scared and have fear when it's really...
Because people are stupid. A person is smart. People are stupid. So we would be in war before they would tell us we were in war. Absolutely.
And so these people that are going to be immediately affected, who already have been immediately affected in Ohio and along that whole region, they are going to... The people who are more intuitive and can sense, like, yes, this water is poisonous and whatnot, we can't. This air is poisonous, we got to get out. They're going to be the ones to flee that area immediately. And the people that stick around are going to be the naive ones that believe that, well, that no one's told me anything's wrong, everything's fine.
Or the ones that can't leave.
Or the ones that can't leave.
Because we've been so punished by this government that, like, I can't afford to move anywhere. And that's just like, people can't afford. And so it's like we've been pigeonholed. And they want that because that makes us very reliant on them. And then they have people to work the whole system. But that's all coming to a foreclose, or whatever you want to call it, an end because of Pluto in Aquarius.
Yes.
And like I said, Saturn rolled out that red carpet.
Yes, Saturn did roll that carpet out.
Check out the aspects for this explosion. We have reciprocal conjunctions with Mercury in the sun, the moon, the transiting moon conjunct the sun and Mercury, and then the sun conjunct the sun and Mercury, and then transiting moon was conjunct Pluto and the north node, and the transiting sun was conjunct Pluto and the north node, and then Saturn being conjunct Pluto in the north node. And this happened at the beginning of, or right around that new moon as well. Ooh, it was at a 0 degree Neptune trine Neptune. A lot of delusion and confusion around this too. Interesting. And like being lied to. It's very easy to get lied to with that.
Interesting times. Yeah, I watched a video because I haven't really followed what's been going on with Russia and Ukraine really at all.
Oh, I can fill you in real quick. So today is the 1 year anniversary of the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. A couple weeks ago, Putin had announced that he was going to have a major speech, and everybody tune in today. Yesterday, Biden went to Kyiv, Ukraine, in an active war zone. So just some interesting energy, but I need to pull up a chart. I'm trying to avoid that.
Yes, I did briefly hear about Biden going to Kyiv. When you consider that this area is likely already controlled by Russia with the way they forced Ukraine out. No? You don't think so?
No, it is under Ukrainian control. They were able to drive them out, which is huge because Kyiv is the main city, and they had siege for a long time there. But it's still an active war zone. Russia's still launching missiles, and they have air raids, and you could hear them when they were talking. So it's very real. And then Russia's making moves on Moldova. And then there's inklings, enough suspicion that China's going to back Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky said if that happens, it's World War III. So doomsday clock. But it's all very much a very underdog story. And like that's what I wanted to pull up with. Both Russia inside chart here and Ukraine were born in 1991. They finished up their Saturn returns. Both of them. Ukraine is a little bit older by 3 months.
Okay. And this would be just before the internet's.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah.
But was Saturn in the same sign?
Saturn in Aquarius. Okay. But one is Russia's Saturn in Aquarius is going forward. So it is in its home sign and it's moving and a grooving. But Ukraine's is retrograde. So, but it is in its first house. These are both timed. These had historical reference.
Ooh, interesting.
So,
That's the first time I've looked at this. This is kind of a neat little...
These are the transits for Ukraine. I accidentally didn't print them out.
And I mean, you can just, like, what jumps out on Russia's chart, obviously, is just Mars in the first house, too. Like,
right, in a fire-dominant sign, and then...
Well, Mars is in Sagittarius in their chart.
Ooh.
So actually, that would be the 12th house, wouldn't it?
It's 4 of their inner placements are in that first house of... Yeah.
No, it is first house still. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm reading that right. And with the moon conjunct the node, that's another one that...
Yes, the moon conjunct the node in Capricorn in the second.
Anytime you have a luminary messing with the nodes, I feel like you're playing with fated energy. In this moment.
Absolutely. Check out what Pluto's dealing with. And remember, Pluto's about to go over in the next month. Pluto has been all over their second house. It transited through, in the last 20 years, the Sun, then the Node, then later on Uranus, and it left Neptune in the last couple years. But it is aspecting to conjunct its natal Saturn.
Interesting.
And that is going from the second house of resources to the third house. Go ahead.
No, that's hopeful. I see that as very hopeful. Like, and it's going to be a while before Pluto gets past this 3-degree Aquarius transit with Saturn. So,
oh yeah,
it'll be going on for
3-5 years,
6-7 years maybe. Like, it's, you know, how far past Saturn do you have to get before you're done? Like, I don't know. Like, that's
especially a Saturn in its power.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me hope with Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, that the year it's Saturn in Aquarius, there's that very natural, slow building, sustainable revolution and betterment for humanity and all of that for their country. So, and very clearly people are not happy, and this stuff isn't going to stand for long. There's already major concerns with the health of Putin. That Pisces stellium that we've been in is currently in their 4th house, their most hidden house.
Do you have Putin's chart by chance?
I do.
I know I've seen it before.
So we do have a time for him.
That kind of surprises me that we would even have any type of information.
He was only born in the 50s.
Well, no, I'm just saying with, like, the secrecy and, like,
I know. Where's
and
the
these top leaders?
others?
These top leaders know the validity of astrology. That's why they mask their birth times and give out fake birth times. And
I hope not. Shush.
well, they do. You know they do. Come on.
So check that out.
It's more validation of astrology.
He has Venus in the first
Scorpio,
house.
Scorpio ascendant, of course. Like, what else would he be?
Mars in fucking Sagittarius.
Mars and Sag. That's right.
Same as Russia.
And so, what's he trying to acquire? Wealth? Is that the second house? Is that what his Mars is all about?
You called that, bro. Good job. So yeah, Putin and Russia both have Mars in Sagittarius. Interesting. And then, so Putin's ascendant lays within the charts of the 12th house of Russia. And his ascendant is what? Like, ascendant in 3-degree Scorpio. It's conjunct Russia's Venus in the 12th house.
What's his Saturn degree? Is it an exact opposition of his?
Saturn is 17 Libra. Oh, come on.
That's right.
No, but he has that that square between. Oh God, he has Pluto on his midheaven, squaring Jupiter in Taurus, squaring the nodes, and then so South Node is on his midheaven as well.
You know, something else just occurred to me, and I always have these realizations when I'm looking at a chart. I wonder if people that have Pluto, you know, in a 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th house, especially conjunct the midheaven or the IC or the ascendant, I think those are the kinds of people that really seek after power more than any other people.
I have a few friends with Venus conjunct ascendants. I actually have a few clients with Venus conjunct ascendants.
Yeah?
Or excuse me, no, not Venus and Pluto.
What's
in
the
a Scorpio.
What's the difference? What do you see the difference between Venus and Pluto?
Oh man, it's just like whatever they're out for. Their drive is insane. Never seen a drive like anybody like them before, and it's very much they're here for them. It's like, man, it's almost a little scary, but it's, I don't know, I'm into that. It's very tall, dark, and handsome, mysterious, powerful guy working behind the scenes and just making waves.
Venus and Pluto work together in such a strange way with each other. Like, it's a love-hate, but it's it's a push and pull, and it's.
Is there any mythology between Aphrodite and Hades?
Ooh,
I don't know right off the bat.
I don't either.
So that'd be interesting to check in to see if there's like a little tie in there.
Yeah.
So.
What else jumps out to you in Prudence chart?
Let's see.
We can move on to something.
Gemini moon.
Gemini moon, sure.
And then let's see.
So his North Node is in Aquarius. He just experienced all of those transits through his North Node.
Right, and all of the Pisces is restarting in his 5th house of pleasure. Interesting.
So I wonder if he's going to become like super complacent or something and just fall into like, I've got this.
So Jupiter in Aries. Aries is his 6th house, and Jupiter is in medical astrology. The 1st house is the whole body. The 6th house is the chronic stuff, very much long-lasting day-to-day ailments that you have to deal with. The 8th house is sudden and intense sickness, and the 12th house is very hidden and you can't really pin down what it is. So he has Jupiter in his 6th house expanding that area, and if he were to have any ailments, like it could be increased during that time. But it can also be a very auspicious time for his health. But as you know, Jupiter is abundant and excessive.
So maybe that would be good for him. Maybe this is a time in which his health is excelling and improving.
Or he has an increase in his day-to-day routines and habits.
That makes sense too, yeah.
But Uranus is at what degree right now? Uranus is at 15 degrees Taurus, and he has a Venus at 11, or is that Venus? He has Jupiter at 19. So transiting Uranus is going over Jupiter in his 6th house.
Do you also see where his Mars and Sag is? It's like right conjunct the galactic center.
Oh my gosh!
I always forget about that degree point.
That is interesting.
So another powerful point in his chart for sure.
Let's see what else is going. What's Pluto transiting him? His 3rd house, communications and stuff. Cool.
Yeah, there's chart of Putin.
And how it links to Russia. Anything else you want to say about like the transits that are going through? I think things look really good for Ukraine personally. And it's funny because they're only a degree off from each other here. It's right here. Or excuse me, a sign off. Oh, so Ukraine is an Aquarius rising, and it has Mercury going over its ascendant right now. And then there's that conjunction again, though. That conjunction of Pluto and Saturn between 2 houses. And we ran into that between, again, the Tom Hanks and Wilson charts.
That's right.
Interesting.
The off-sign conjunction.
So, anybody with an early Saturn in Aquarius, anything, which is, I don't think I have one. But anyway, it'll come.
I don't have anything early in Aquarius.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because it's like the power dynamic of tradition versus innovation. But they're both ruled by Saturn being,
When this has been an activated point in the chart since the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, I mean, it's just been lit up. So, of course, what do you expect to happen in the first degrees of Aquarius? It's going to be lit.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Yeah, that's really cool. So all that's happening in their 1st house, very, very pivotal house. And honestly, you have your greater benefic in the 3rd house, and so forth. So I'm very optimistic for Ukraine. Russia, on the other hand, has all of that difficult energy in the 2nd to 3rd houses of finances and the property and all of that going into how they're communicating. And I just feel like that's a much more difficult thing to go through. And that's coming from somebody who has the Pluto transiting their 2nd house going into the 3rd.
And one last thing I'm noticing on this chart is Uranus is transiting through their 4th house, Ukraine's 4th house, and I have a 5th house Uranus. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you think about like the living situation and how that's happened to be drastically changed and revolutionized, and yeah. But the future's here. I think we're ready. I think we're ready to adapt and move on, and change the way we used to live.
Oh, yeah.
Because our planet needs us to do it.
Right.
It's forcing us to do it. We're forcing ourselves to do it, one or the other.
Yeah, no kidding. So I did notice he's having that speech today. Let's see. We can go into the role of astrology in understanding historical and current events, potential for using astrology as a peace building and conflict resolution. So yeah, there's like astrology can be used for understanding historical and current events. It's the first form of astrology there was. Natal astrology only existed for the elites, and first in the original things they noticed were like with the moon, with the crops, with the water. And so it's always been there to explain major events. And we see it throughout history. Like everybody who's someone in history had an astrologer.
Yeah, and at first they just noticed the current transits, what was happening at that moment. They hadn't overlaid past transits with it to try to be more of a predictive model for what the future could hold. So.
Exactly. And then once they started doing that and we were writing it down, then we saw. So like, honestly, just like how we were looking at Russia and Ukraine, if you look into the future and see your state, your country is going through something tough, maybe you should do something about it. Like, I don't know, Pluto's currently in the second house of the United States, or it's about to go into it. Yeah, Pluto returned in the second house. Maybe they shouldn't have been fucking around with their finances if they would have seen that coming. But, you know, it's just weird how they use astrology, because I do believe that people use astrology for bad. You know, it's a tool of war. It could be, and it has been.
And you have astrologers that just won't even predict accurately because, well, in the past they'd fear their own death if they were to actually tell them what was going to happen.
Yes, they were called soothsayers. And there was this one instance, it was one of the English kings. He had an astrologer who was his best astrologer. Go tell me what's going to happen. Oh, you're going to rule forever and your daughter's going to grow up and be prosperous and this and that. His daughter died 2 weeks later. And so, as far as I know, he ran out of town. I don't know what happened to him. I don't think they know what happened to him, but he disappeared. So it's like, that shit'll get you caught up. And what's Pluto do? Reveals truths and shit. And that's happening in the second house. But anyway, you can definitely use it to plan like nefariously, and that's why people are careful about giving their birth times out.
Yeah, because you can have a more accurate prediction when you have that pinpoint accuracy. I mean, even down to the minute of birth. Can you imagine if we actually had the exact second of people's births? Because
that'd be crazy.
As you and I were noticing, like the exact points of the full moon and new moons and stuff, they don't happen at exactly when these charts say. You have to actually dial them down and see there's a 10-second window where it's exact.
Right, or like a minute for the eclipse. Exactly. So, but I think it's really important, and I love that's the part of astrology I love the most. Natal's cool, but I'm a mundane girl.
There you go.
So
I like mundane.
It's very earthy.
It is earthy.
All right. Let's see. Make sure. All right, we got Rodney Mullen.
Rodney Mullen, the king of the earth.
Right. So, we're going to be featuring different athletes within the exports realm. We're both very into that part of life. Very Aquarian and stuff. But this time we wanted to look into Rodney Mullen's. We do not have a birth time, so houses don't matter. But we will be looking at the planetary connections, and right off the bat, look at all those trines.
Oh man, he's got lots of trines going on, lots of sextiles. Yeah, he also has. The first thing that jumped out to me, first two things that jumped out to me in his chart was he's part of that generation that went through with the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in Virgo. He was also born with his Neptune conjunct the South Node, which to me was probably another really powerful aspect in his life that helped him achieve what he did. And he also has a Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer, which is pretty powerful.
And for me, that Mars-Jupiter conjunction is also in conjunction outside of the house, like not a house conjunction with Venus. And something I've seen with that Venus-Mars conjunction is very like, Austin Coppock says MMA fighters, but also there's like you could have violent outlashes and stuff like that. But if you see, like, I've seen it in a lot of athletes though, where they channel that energy of the art and the passion together.
Ooh, and he kind of does that with the Venus and Leo passion versus that
Venus in Leo, yeah.
And then that Mars in Cancer, so that cross.
Oh, they're
sign,
yeah. Is that mutual reception?
I don't know.
No,
it's an off-sign conjunction, but
yeah. But that energy, it's mutual freaking elements for sure.
Yeah.
And then like how he's able to communicate that, the artistry of everything there, communication and art in Aries is beautiful. And then it's working well, trine.
With his Saturn?
Saturn
yeah.
in Pisces, so that's interesting.
Yep.
Or you said that.
Yeah, I said that.
Cool.
Another big thing is his moon in Virgo. Obviously, you know.
Oh, yeah. And how techie he is.
Yep, how
he is the tech.
It has to be a certain way.
It has to be.
Isn't that way, then he's not happy with it. He's not satisfied.
Well, and then just like the kickflip, that shit, you have to have technical skills for that. It's not just flailing. It's like you work and you work and you work. And then I like how it's in an earth sign with Pluto and Uranus as well, because to me that speaks to like the health. And then sudden things like, I don't know if he's been injured, but Virgo's very much the ground and stuff.
Right.
You know? So.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on with his chart. I was
very transformative.
Really impressed when I saw it, and I was like, huh.
If you could guess his rising sign, what would you think he would be?
You know, I was looking at it, and if I really had to pin a rising on him, it might be like a rising Pisces or something.
Ooh. Interesting. Aha. And then that would put that stellium in the 5th house of pleasure and sports. That's what I was thinking too, actually. So, which if he was, he just had a new moon in his first house. But enough speculation, I suppose.
Right.
Great guy. Has completely changed everything. And like, it's amazing to see how he started something and now we have him at the Olympics. And it's just like one lifetime, man. Like
he's not even 60.
He's not even fucking 60. He was born in 1966. Yeah. So like, what tremendous! Oh, he's going to be going through his Saturn return.
Second one, yeah.
Are you going to become old, or are you going to become the elder, buddy?
I mean, he already got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and so he's already become recognized as.
Oh, it won't be until much later.
Like 26 or so.
Yeah, he's got a few years still, or like a year or two.
Yeah.
Cool. I know. I hope so. I hope so.
But yeah, Rodney Mullen's definitely one of those guys that everyone needs to become familiar with, understand his history, understand his roots, understand what he went through as a child, the challenges, his parents, the restrictions. And
yeah, because his dad was a doctor and was like, fuck no, you're not going on one of those. Or
was it a dentist?
He was in the medical field.
He was in the medical field either way. But yeah, he was like, nope, you are not going to ride a skateboard because I know what happens to people that ride skateboards.
Right, and he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And then kickflip.
When I think that pressure forced him to not get hurt. Like, he tried so hard to make sure that he never got hurt.
That Virgo fucking moon right there, man. That Virgo moon. He's got to be careful, though, if you're listening. You might get tummy troubles when you're upset because of that Virgo ruling over the digestive system. But if you feed it well and everything, it operates so well because Virgo's all about picking the little things out of the body. It's like the processing of nutrients and everything. So if that happens to be, he might just be an indigestion guy. I don't know.
And he doesn't really come off as a Leo. That's the weirdest thing because he's so laid back.
Yeah.
He definitely looks like a Leo. You look at a picture of him and you would probably immediately think Leo, but if you just heard him talk, because he doesn't speak like Leo, which you would think, okay, Venus is in Leo, Mercury's in Leo, why is he not?
Oh, he's cute.
Why doesn't he seem like
he's
more
so
of a Leo?
He's so kind looking.
He's super kind.
Aww.
Yo, look at that hair.
I know.
Just
makes you,
Of course he's a Leo.
Right, yeah, he is, but he's the chill one that's already, like, It's got its family, it's got its cubs chilling in the field, just doing its thing, and then it goes and does what it does really well, and then it goes chill again. You know, and I mean, the showboatiness he puts out there, he's got that fulfilled, and it's not even a bad showboat. It's like, look at me, look at my stage, watch me, and he's doing it in such a technical way, and he's able to communicate it so well and beautifully with that Mercury and Venus.
And another beautiful thing I just noticed with his chart is his moon is a waxing new moon, basically. It's not very old.
Yeah, good call, yeah.
So, he starts out, and I notice a lot of people that have these new moons like to do things in private, in the dark. Like, they're not as flashy and as revealing. Maybe that's part of why he doesn't come off as a Leo.
Yeah, it's just like more sedated. Yeah. I do like his Mars in Cancer. I do have that placement. So that's very, very, very cool. I like seeing my placements in other people's charts that I admire. So yeah. I'm currently teaching a class on the midlife crisis, and just knowing those cycles can help prepare people ahead of time. Like, knowing that Saturn return era is going to be really hard. 27 Club is the progressed lunar return.
27 Club?
Yeah, we're like... Yeah, the 27 Club, like Kurt Cobain died at 27.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was their lunar return.
Was Jimi Hendrix in that? Or
and Janis Joplin and Amy Winehouse.
We couldn't even experience the Saturn return.
I know, but that lunar progressed return, that's just crazy.
So there is a... I always like to highlight an astrologer, and you can...
Yeah, go for it.
You can unhighlight him if you want. Like, no, that is not going in the podcast. I don't like Cam White. No, just kidding.
No, Cam, dude, he triggers me in such a good way, and I respect him, and it's just like something I gotta get through, and it's all good because I listen to him in good faith to open my mind, and he has great insights.
He does have great insights, and I haven't been listening to him for the last couple months. He's kind of come off my radar because too many other things obviously take the place of everything. But he had this episode pop through with my feed. I saved it to watch later, and it's the history of Saturn and Pisces, and I think that would be a great one to dive into if you want.
Next class, yeah.
For anyone that wants to just know more about how Saturn and Pisces is going to be. I think Cam White will have some great insights on that. So I think that is an episode worth checking out.
Yeah, I do like Cam White, and I haven't seen that one yet. I like how down to earth and real he is. But he's cool.
Cam White is cool.
So cool. That's a good one. And then just like, I'm so excited for it to happen already. It's going to be in my 4th house. So that'll be cool. And I'm building, I got 2 acres. And I'm going to be building something out there in the next couple of years. So that'll be literal representation of that, I guess. Building in the 4th.
Interesting. I was just now thinking about Saturn transiting my 7th and how it's finishing up last minute 7th house stuff. My divorce and all the selling of my home and getting all my finances in order. Which I don't think is going to happen yet, because what happens after Saturn gets done in the 7th house is it moves into the 8th house.
But that's more business-ended stuff.
Yeah.
But that's also building a foundation within, that transformation house.
Yeah, and I guess I can structure it better and create more of a secure foundation for my finances and everything, so...
Hell yeah. It'll be good. And it's only in there for a couple of years.
That's true.
Unlike Pluto.
It can go into my 8th house here in the 2040s. I'm fine with that. Stay out of my 8th house till then. No, that is one of the nice things about the transiting planets is they're not in 11 of your houses. So be thankful.
And with the outer planets too, only a select few people will ever have Pluto transiting their 2nd going into the 3rd. It's only Sag risings that'll have that experience, unless you're born really at the end or beginning,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, most people are only going to experience Pluto go through 2 or 3 or 4 houses, maybe.
4 if they live long enough.
I mean, it depends on
which ones,
which generation you're born in. If you're like me and you get a Pluto and Libra generation, we already experienced our Pluto square.
I know, it happened quick.
And so now I'm going to get my Pluto trine. Which, how many people get a Pluto trine?
Right. That's so cool, though.
I mean, it won't be till like the late 2030s, but
It's coming up eventually.
15 years.
I just want to see.
Just in time for my second Saturn return.
Right. Real quick, yesterday, Turkey got struck by another earthquake.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So I wanted to see the transits for yesterday, but it's bad. It's a large earthquake. So I just wanted to see if anything stuck out. And again, we're just working with this new moon chart. I don't know, it's just crazy.
What was it? 13 Aquarius? Is that Mercury? Yeah. So Mercury, Mars trine.
I don't know. It's just scary. And it's just like, I don't know, that Capricorn, Pluto thing.
Just finishing up the final degrees of Capricorn and the final degrees of Aquarius with Saturn. And
it's crazy. I guess they're considering it an aftershock.
a 6.3 aftershock.
That's scary. And then, oh, cool. The Antarctic sea ice hits record low for second year in running. And that's going to increase the sea levels.
Yes, did you see the thing about all the carbon in all the glaciers? That once
being released,
that gets released, it's just going to speed up the process and accelerate the heating. And then, we may have already reached the point of no return, where it's just going to accelerate.
We just got to work with it.
And we're just going to be forced into some really drastic situations.
Until it mellows out. And I feel like the Earth has its own rhythm.
And as humans, I think we're adaptable enough, and we'll find a way through it.
Oh, people live in Alaska.
Yeah.
You know, like, people live in the middle on the equator.
Right.
So it's just preparation and making sure to get the resources to people.
Look where we live.
I know, yeah. This place, we have, 60 mile per hour winds sustained right now? Or not sustained, but gusts.
Right.
And it's rough. Like, my house or the apartment building is like...
And the dryness of our air.
It's really dry.
We don't even notice it, though. We're like, we just live in dry air.
Right. It hurts our face. It's okay. So... A 2,400-year-old flush toilet discovered in China could be one of the oldest ever. That's so cool.
Interesting. You know that one guy one day was just sick and tired of dealing with all the shit and the stink in his house, and was like, I'm going to figure a way to get this stuff flushed out and be gone.
And he was probably crazy.
He was probably crazy. He probably had some crazy transits or some crazy natal chart and was like, I'm doing this, and he figured it out. And
right.
And then we got this crazy winter storm that's going to slam our country here. Like, from basically like Minneapolis all the way to Massachusetts, it's just going to get hit hard. We're going to get like a little bit, but not anything like everyone else.
It's crazy because you can feel it coming in. Like, my kids are supposed to start school Wednesday, and I told them to wait until Monday because I ain't dealing with it.
I was never really a big fan of the military. I'm very much a pacifist.
Sure.
But after seeing the before and after satellite photos of Ukraine and what happened and how quickly Russia just went in and destroyed the infrastructure, just annihilated it, just pushed them out. And of course, Russia didn't want to destroy all the infrastructure, and so Ukraine knew that. Like, that's part of why they didn't succeed with the airport in Kiev, is because it got just too destroyed in the process, so it wasn't useful. And so, anyway, I don't remember where else I was going on that, but every home, every building is destroyed.
And then you think about the United States and what they did. They've been doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah, and in this video, they basically said, like, just think of this was probably similar to what it would have looked like if we'd had satellites to show what happened in World War II.
And having that accessible to us. It's not just catered to what we see in newspapers. We have the internet. We have people on the ground recording, live streaming. I fucking love TikTok. I can't, there's a reason they're trying to get rid of it so hard.
Neutral people that don't have an agenda, they just present
They're showing it, and that's what journalism is supposed to be. And, I love TikTok. It's really an integral tool of the revolution.
Yeah, it really is. Let's hope that the internet stays on. Let's hope that it doesn't become dark like it does in some countries.
And the internet it's in its Saturn return right now, or it just passed. Let me see. right.
Is that
93.
93.
Oh,
okay.
so it's in its Saturn return.
Yep.
Hey.
Yep.
Hey.
Like heavy Saturn. Let's see what that chart is.
CERN did the internet? It says it.
They're the ones that had the first public domain name?
CERN. The same CERN.
See, the internet's such a weird thing to understand, like an actual beginning, because it's always been just linked computers, right?
Right, yeah, it was a closed circuit
So
kind
you
of
go
thing.
back to like the 40s or 30s when electronics and circuits were first starting to connect, and it's just growing and growing and growing and growing and expanding, and that's all the internet is.
So weird.
It's not really a complex thing, really, but it sure feels like it sometimes when you see what it's capable of showing you. But I know I've heard Chris Brennan talk about the chart for the internet. April 30th, 93 sounds right.
It was the early 90s, because I'm the same age as the internet. All right, so I was hoping for a time. April 30th, 1993. That's interesting that CERN is involved, though. I did not know that. Especially considering all like the timey-wimey shit we've had going on.
Right. And going back to what we were talking about earlier with like all the history behind us and how we know how it's going to play out is looking at the planetary cycles, and just as the transits and cycles happen, we kind of know what to expect.
Exactly. It's amazing. I love it. And then the internet's really speeding that up. Shut up. I'm just picking somewhere in Europe.
That's one of the reasons why it feels like everything is accelerated right now.
It is. It's huge. Like, think of like when we were kids. Like, even you more so. It was like Walkmans to fucking IMAX to virtual realities in one life.
There was a few years where we used Discmans too.
Well, Walkmans were more relevant, right? Or more accessible, because then Discmans come out in the 90s.
Yeah, Discmans was more of my teenage years.
Yeah, I grew up with the Discmans were my young years.
And I milked the cassette tapes as long as I could.
Oh, they're so good, and they didn't skip.
They were cheaper, they didn't skip. You didn't realize the quality was a little worse, but it didn't matter. Your headphones sucked anyway back then.
Right. So it has Mars in Leo with Moon in Leo, Jupiter in Libra, Pluto in Scorpio, North Node in Sag. It has the Uranus-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. I love that one. That one lines up with Project Hindsight as well. It has Venus in Aries, and then I find that it's communication in Aries. It like started it, and then Sun in Taurus.
Very interesting.
That is interesting. It is a Venus and Jupiter are opposed, but Jupiter is in the ruling a planet ruled by Venus. So I feel like that kind of leans a bit towards Venus in that one, even though Jupiter is the greater benefic. So being pulled between like value and then excessiveness. And then, I don't know, interesting.
Well, we just went through the 2.5 cycles of Jupiter as it went through the 6-degree mark of Aries. So
I like that Uranus just passed the Sun, and the node goes backwards though. So
almost around the same time too.
like they're just like but it's going to go through its Venus return, which will be lovely, I'm sure, for the internet, along with the Saturn return. So that's an interesting combination to have, because the Venus return could be like
at the same
blah, blah,
time,
blah. At
yeah.
the time it like tapers it back.
Yeah.
And especially considering Saturn is in its ruler. That was the Stars Are Lit podcast. Join us next week for more insights into the cosmos.